When I was a little boy, my daddy used to tell me a story about them little rabbits, and there were three of them. They was Foot and Foot and Foot. And they had ran out of stuff to eat in the garden that they had been raiding. And old Foot, he said, look, he said, Foot and Foot. He said, I'm going off, and I'm going to find us a new garden, new territory. And so old Foot and Foot, they said goodbye to Foot. And old Foot, he hopped and 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 he hopped. And finally, he found a nice garden, and there was still some stuff in there. In the meantime, old Foot got sick. Yeah, he got a hold of a bad carrot. And, he was real babyish looking. And old Foot, he said, Foot. And Foot said, what, Foot? And old Foot, he said, I'm sick. And Foot, he says, but Foot, he said, what's the matter with you? Foot, he said, I don't know, but I think that I got a hold of a bad carrot. And he said, I feel like I'm going to die. And he said, will you go and find Foot? And Foot said, okay, Foot. So old Foot, he said, goodbye to Foot. And he hopped 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 and he hopped. He finally found old Foot. And Foot said, hi, Foot. And Foot said, hi, Foot. He said, what's the matter? He said, well, Foot. He said, Foot, sick. And Foot, he said, Foot. He said, Foot. He said, what's wrong with Foot? And Foot, he said to Foot, he said, well, he thinks he got a hold of a bad carrot, and he thinks he's going to die. He said, oh. Old Foot said, oh. He said, you go back, and if it gets worse, he said, you take him to a foot doctor. So old Foot, he said goodbye to Foot. He said goodbye Foot, and Foot said goodbye to Foot, and old Foot, how many feet did I say there? Finally, old Foot, he hopped and 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 he hopped, and finally he found old Foot. Old Foot had died. All 4 feet were sticking up in the air. And it scared him so bad they had a funeral there, and all the rabbits that came from miles around. And old Foot, he said that he better go and tell old Foot. And so he hopped and 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 he hopped, and he found old Foot. And Foot, he said, Foot. And Foot said, he said, what is it, Foot? And he said, Foot has died. And he said, Foot, he said, I feel like, he said, I had a bite of the same carrot. And he said, I feel like I'm going to die. And Foot, he said to Foot, he said, Foot, he said, you can't die. We've already got 1 foot in the grave now.